Oi, hey, welcome to Game Central Junction, everyone. As always, I am your host, The Metal, here to talk about video games, collectibles, toys, anything adjacent to that category. What's going on, news, my opinions on it, and the general. So, hey, if that's the type of stuff you're interested in, you like discussion on that, please grab that link. Wherever it is on your screen, go share it with somebody else, get more friends in here. And we'll have a good time. And yes, before anybody asks, because I'm sure they will, and I'm sure somebody's about to say that too as they come in. As far as I know, no marsupial today. Flying solo. It is what it is. Just me, but we're still going to talk about things regardless. And hey, also, anybody listening, if at any point in time you like the show, you can always give a donation to streamlabs.com/vomitoriumlive to the Soda Fund. Really helps us out. Not necessary, not mandatory, but appreciated. And we'll get into it. I had a pretty good day today, but a very slow one. You know, it's been a very, very slow day. Went for a walk, got a lot of exercise, did a lot of other stuff I needed to do, but aside from that, it's been one of those ones where you almost feel like you could just lay back down on the bed and pass out, and then completely forget that you were planning to do anything else later. I didn't do that. I've been awake this whole time, but it felt like that. You know those days. One of those days where it hasn't even been filled with gaming, just a lot of doing stuff. A lot of doing stuff. Probably more than what's getting done in the industry right now. And since there's not really a lot going on. Oh, I just got distracted. Yeah, there's not really a lot going on in the industry. I've been looking around. Not a ton of news. I got some things to talk about, and we'll get into those. Making a lot of progress with your projects, says Fizchozo, and he will get back to his games later. Yes, it is important to probably focus on your projects first. I mean, that is probably the number one advice anybody would give anyone else, even if they're not taking it. Anyhow, what was the first thing I wanted to talk about? Oh, here we go. Number one. First thing. And this is actually kind of opened my mind as to one of the big problems with... What's the term I want to use for this? Oh, I'm blanking on the term I want to use for this. But number one problem with making games optimal. Optimization. That's the word I was thinking of. I don't know why optimization would not pop in my head. But the number one issue with optimization for games lately has been that it doesn't seem like companies are trying to optimize their games at all. Like, not in the slightest, right? They just keep getting bigger and bigger, and they keep needing more and more power to be able to do the slightest things that it felt like that we were able to do on games easier 2 generations ago. Well, one of the big issues, the file size issue specifically, when it comes to PC, because you notice there is often a big file size difference between PC and console, and it might come down mostly to the fact that on PC, a lot of people are still using HDD. Oh, it looks like Buck is here. I did invite him to come on if he wanted to. If he can figure out how to get on. I know they took away the normal join button, but if you right-click yourself, there is a join stage. There you are. Hey, Buck. Let me make sure you're toggled on so people can hear you. There you go.
that. Why did they remove the button?
I don't know why they removed the button. They're not very bright, I tell you. Every time they make a change to Discord, they think they're making it better, but it's just worse than it was before.
Yeah, I mean, I clicked on the little thing that was like the Discord like flashback thing, because that apparently is supposed to be like Discord's version of like the Twitch like history thing.
Yeah.
And that didn't work, and instead I got a freaking cat attached to my PFP now.
Oh, yes, I see the cat. I see the cat. Maximum Overdrive 5477 asks, is this the same buck you took to the clown dimension? If you're talking about the buck that followed me into the subspace to fight the subspace demons and that giant cloud, then yes, this is the same buck.
Yo.
The character in X Dynamis Chaos is directly based off of this person. And actually, it was mostly based off of me and the stupid shit I get my friends to do. So he's got a lot of experience with that.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah. But, yeah, what I was talking about was game optimization, right? And you could probably relate. All games are just getting too big. Like, just like way too fucking big.
So, want to know something pretty retarded?
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
So, somebody that I've met over the last couple of years is actually in game dev.
Mm-hmm.
And they have revealed that one of the reasons why Unreal Engine 5 games have been going so badly actually has next to nothing to do with the engine. It is the fact that these people are so horrible about optimizing their games, they leave the engine's inbuilt demo in the code.
Oh, yeah, I knew that. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with any of the Unreal engines. I mean, look at some of the stuff that was made all the way back in Unreal 3, right? And I think, graphically, we didn't even need to go past that. But 4 and 5 are great engines. It's the devs that are shit. Like, they're incompetent. They're not doing well. I wouldn't be surprised if it's the same over at Unity. You know, because there's like a built-in demo for Unity too. The devs are probably leaving that one in as well.
Yeah, more than likely, I think.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of the thing. On one end, you've got games that are just getting absurdly bloated for no reason, despite having less content than games made a decade ago. And then you've got, on the other end, you've got several games that have an insane amount of content, and yet take up less space than when the game originally released.
Yeah. Well, here's one that I know it's not because of that specifically, right? So this was in the news earlier today. And here's another reason why games are probably getting bigger than they need to be, specifically on the PC end. Because before you hopped on, I was talking about how, you know, sometimes games on console are a lot smaller than they are on PC, even the same game, right? And one of the reasons might be because of HDDs. Right, because most of us, we've all moved to like SDD, right, or SSDs by now, right? And SSDs are a lot faster at recalling data from different compartments of it, as opposed to like even the fastest HDD, and you're going to be paying a lot for that. And people usually get HDDs because they're cheaper, not because they want to pay a lot. The fastest can almost hit the same speeds as solid-state drives, but those are spinning at like 7,900 RPM or something. Your standard one, not hitting that. They're like in the 3,000 RPMs. So it takes a long time to pull it. And a lot of people just aren't moving away from it. So some developers for PC have been leaving redundant files in their game in like different maps, different sections, so that they don't have to call it from different sections and take longer to load and cause issues for that. One of them being Helldivers 2. Helldivers 2, because they just decided to be like, listen, hardly anybody who plays our game uses HDDs anymore. I think that was like 11% of their player base used it. And some of them are only using the HDD because the game is too big, right? They would move to an SSD if the game was smaller, and they just need this larger, older drive to be able to fit the large game. They took out, I think, somewhere around 85% of the redundant or of all the game data, because it was like redundant files. It shrunk by 85%. It went from, let's see, 154 gigs, close to 22. If you take out all the redundant data, that game could be 22 gigs.
Damn.
Yeah. It makes you wonder how many other games are doing that, right? Where it's like, well, we know there's a lot of people that have older hard drives, things where it might take too long to run or load or pull the data from different parts of the game. So we're just going to have a bunch of redundant files everywhere to make it load faster. Because it seems to be the experience that people complain about the most is loading, which also still wouldn't be a problem if your games were just simpler or smaller to begin with. But loading seems to be a big thing. Everybody complains when textures need to load, whether the room needs to load, whatever. So some of these gigantic games might literally just be also, I mean, the fact that they're leaving a whole demo for an engine in there, as you said before, but because there's just redundant files everywhere. As a gamer, as somebody who's had to pay for your own storage, how does that make you feel?
I feel like I miss loading screens.
I do too, actually. Especially because people used to be really creative about them, right? It's like, do I miss loading screens more than having a seamless game? No, but I do miss them more than having giant games that take up all of my space. Like, there's some of them, like the Resident Evil doors back in the day, right? Where the loading screen for the rooms was hidden by this door animation that you had to see for every single room. Or the old Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi games, right? Where you had like the little Master Roshi sitting on the turtle that you could spin. At least it gave you something to do during the loading screen. Or Fizz even points out, there used to be tips on the loading screens. Which I think there's some games I would say are still doing that, but the only one that comes to mind really... Well, actually, all the Hoyo games that I play have tips on the loading screen, or lore facts or anything. So those are fairly recent. I was going to think of Skyrim, but then I have to remember that Skyrim is over a decade old at this point. So that's not like a recent game. It's just one they won't stop making.
Bonanza does it.
Oh, okay. I will get to play that soon, actually. Finally. So, you know, my brother Joe is up in Illinois, and they are sending me a care package of stuff, mostly because, you know, my life ceremony was earlier this week, so my dad wants to send me a little something, even though I told him he didn't have to.
Yeah, I remember my mom actually was giving me guff for not contacting you, and it's like, that's the point. He gets away from his computer so he doesn't have to talk to people on that day.
Yeah. The day before or the day after is fine, not the day of. But you know, because you're a good friend. But they want to send me a little care package, and he's sending me Bonanza because he's gotten all of the enjoyment he's going to get out of that game. So that'll be fun to work through when it comes. But that's cool to know that they are still doing tips. I like it when games do tips on screens like that. Speaking of, I don't think you've been on in months, actually. But since Bonanza has come out. So I do have some other things on my list. They're not particularly interesting to talk about. They're like filler things. Do you want to talk about Bonanza, like your experience with the game?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah. Bonanza, Donkey Kong Bonanza, Fizz. That's what we're talking about. Yes, yes. Not the old cowboy show. Though, if there was a modern Bonanza cowboy game, I would be down to play that depending on what type of game it is. That would be way better than Red Dead Redemption.
God, I still hate how much of the fun factor from the first one got completely massacred in the second.
Oh yeah, and then like what we were gonna try to get out of it was gonna be the online, but playing online on PC with all the hackers was just a terrible, horrendous experience that has made me never want to reinstall that game ever again.
Yeah, big time oof when you just try to do literally anything and then suddenly every single player on that server just spontaneously gets murdered by cougars.
Yeah. Or there's that time that I think we thought at first that they were using aimbotting, right? Because like you and Rick were just dying, and I was safe sort of because I was like sneaking around the town. But then all of a sudden, after they were alerted that there were still players in the server, then people, including myself, just started dropping like flies without even getting shot. Like that was how petty and stupid the cheating was. It's like, no, they didn't even need to aimbot. They were actually just executing players. They just needed to figure out their location first.
Like, how is that even fun? That's my question.
Oh, it's only fun to them because they get a kick out of ruining other people's fun. That's it. They just know that they're ruining somebody else's fun. That's the type of person they are. They're the so that episode from Rugrats, right, where they accidentally walked onto the wrong side of the playground, and at first they thought that this was a nice older person, unlike Angelica, but then once they got to know the guy, he wouldn't let them leave, and he was just like making their day miserable. And that was the type of people that we ended up with, just people who wanted to make everybody else's day miserable. But anyway.
Yeah.
Donkey Kong Bonanza.
But yeah.
I'm going to get excited to play it soon. I think I'm playing that soon, and Metroid Prime 4 is probably on the agenda soon too. That one I will probably be sitting down with Marsupial while I'm playing it, so he can watch and enjoy it that way. I just, I enjoy Metroid Prime probably more than the average other Metroid players do. But Bonanza's on my list. I've been meaning to play it for months now. I just haven't had the opportunity. You have played it. So, yeah, I want to know the parts you liked about it, the parts you didn't like about it, overall experience, wherever you want to start.
Well, overall, I had a lot of fun with it. That is just the bottom line. It is a fun game. You've got typical Donkey Kong. He is just a goofy goober who wants bananas. They're not trying to add more to him. He doesn't talk at all. Like, there's technically a line that you can kind of contribute to him, but you're still not 100% sure if he's actually saying it or thinking it.
Yeah. So for the most part, you're just getting like his ape sounds, just like rrr, rrr.
Yep. Ape sounds, the occasional like image of a banana in his eyes because he sees the banana. Mm-hmm. If you're close enough to a banana, he actually like sticks his tongue out, so that's also kind of a sneaky little radar you can use to tell if you're like really close to one that's hidden.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Because you just like smell them.
Yep. And it is just, you've got the destructible terrain. They do make sure that there are certain types of terrain you cannot break through no matter what, so that you don't just yeet yourself into the abyss.
That's really, really good. Though I know that probably pisses some people off, because there were some people who were like, I want to destroy every bit of land before I leave a level, so that's just not physically possible.
Yeah, I mean, you can destroy a extremely large amount, and you've even like they even showed in the old Nintendo Treehouse and the old Direct that the map you can bring up does update all the destruction you cause, so you can see how the terrain itself overall changes with the destruction you do.
And so it's a live topography. Cool.
Yep. And you do have to unlock some abilities, but there's a lot of abilities that if you look at the thing, it looks like you have to unlock, but it turns out it's just unlocking an upgraded version of it.
Yep.
So you actually have the vast majority of the abilities you can use, like, pretty much as soon as you pick up Donkey Kong. So it's more about skill than just getting all the upgrades.
Okay. I kind of like that.
There have already been quite a few zero upgrade runs because you have all the tools you really need to get through most of it, as long as you can figure out how the game works enough.
Yeah, the upgrades are more, I'm guessing, to like a cushion, right? Like for maybe people who are struggling to develop the skill they need or the solutions, or maybe even people who just don't care as much. They could kind of supplement that by upgrading the abilities, right?
Yep, pretty much. There are a couple of abilities that you just can't use in certain situations unless you get the upgrade. Like, right off the bat, you can just rip a chunk out of the ground and then just surf on it. But you actually do need to upgrade that if you want to surf on the water.
Okay, I mean, that kind of makes sense. Especially because, like, I know when you get the Bonanza State thing, right? Which there's the different changes. One of them just lets you straight up run on the water. So they probably don't want to feel like that would be completely mitigated just by, like, a normal ability from Donkey Kong without you earning it, right?
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense.
And yeah, they also make the stuff you can't break through visually distinct from the things you can. So once you've been in the game for a little bit, you can really tell, like, what you should break, what you shouldn't break, or what you can't break.
Okay.
And the kind of things that you may need something else to break for you.
That's good to good. How
like,
would you
they've
compare it? Because it's very much supposed to be like a Donkey Kong version of Mario Odyssey. It's unique to itself, but that's kind of what they're going for with it, right? So there has to be some direct comparisons. As far as controls and movement, how would you say it feels compared to Odyssey?
Controls and movement, it overall feels very similar. Because moving Donkey Kong around does feel a lot like moving around Mario. The big difference is that
obviously his size.
Donkey Kong has, other than size, is Donkey Kong has a lot more abilities to increase forward momentum and speed, whereas Mario was more vertical. So, like, Mario, you've got the jump, double jump, triple jump, the cappy bounce thing.
And
he has a lot of ways
to Mario's kind of side-to-side agility is probably higher than Donkey Kong's as well.
Yeah. Like, Mario's overall agility is much higher. Donkey Kong, between his rolling and the turf surf, he can move forward really fast, but you gotta kind of learn and get a bit more skill to try and move around quickly compared to just running around as Mario.
No, okay.
It's just the big difference is enemies are a lot easier for DK to take care of than Mario's, because,
you'd hope.
well, While Mario's enemies usually only require one good hit, but you have to like grab an item and some from somewhere and throw it, or grab a power up, or jump on them at the right time. DK, it's literally just, you can rip a bit off the ground and throw it at them, you can just punch them, you could jump on top of them.
Though, you know,
There's
you
even
only
some that are
want-
big enough that you can rip chunks off of them.
Yeah. And you only want that if you're in an environment where you're comparing Donkey Kong directly to Mario, which we kind of are, right? With Odyssey. It's been so long since Donkey Kong has had like a 3D game of his own. Even his 2D games, you just don't get as often as Mario's, that you're not going to be comparing Donkey Kong to Donkey Kong. You're going to be comparing Donkey Kong to Mario in this case. And I think that's probably part of why they went with it. If we look at like previous Donkey Kong series, Donkey Kong is comparatively actually almost always as fragile as Mario is in their respective games, right? Like both of them used to be like maybe one hit, or maybe they would have like one bit of over health, right? Whether it's Mario's got like a mushroom, or Donkey Kong's got whatever Diddy or that he could swap out with, right? It would always be like one hit for each of them. And then when we get to 3D, they both had almost the same amount of health, right? Between Mario 64's health gauge and the watermelon pieces that you could get in Donkey Kong 64. But those were always comparing them to their own franchises, right? Comparing him to Odyssey, you would want him to feel tougher, you'd want him to feel stronger than Mario, to be able to just like rip things apart, because that's who Donkey Kong is supposed to be, right? Donkey Kong is always supposed to be like this bigger, stronger guy that's like a rival to Mario, and he would feel a little limp-wristed if you made him about as soft as the plumber.
Yeah, because while later enemies do get stronger to the point that eventually they are tough enough that they can one-shot DK,
Yeah.
that's the toughness of the enemy rather than DK. Starting out, in comparison to Mario Odyssey, you have 3 hits you can take, 6 if you get one of the overhealth things.
Yeah.
DK can take 6 hits right off the bat. And if it's a particularly weak enemy, he can take like 8.
Ooh, nice.
Because he's just got like 2 or 3 hearts, but it works kind of like on the quarter heart system.
Yeah.
That they've had for some of the other games. So it's like he gets hit by a particularly weak enemy, it's like 1/4 of his heart is gone. Medium strength enemy, half a heart. Stronger enemy, a whole heart. But then as like you go through the game, there's actually ones that are tough enough that they can take out multiple hearts in one shot.
Yeah. It's just using hearts instead of like watermelons, but that's kind of like how the watermelons worked in 64, right? Where you take like a quarter out of each watermelon.
Yeah, and of course, you can also upgrade your health, get more hearts, so you can take more shots.
Mm-hmm.
They've also got the hideout thing where you build a hideout. DK takes a nap in the hideout, and it gives him an extra heart. The more hideouts you have in the level, the more extra hearts you get on top of it. Although each layer/level resets that, so you have to actually go find the hideout spots and set them up in order to get the health bonuses.
Okay. Yeah, because this is kind of like a journey to the center of the earth kind of thing, right? Where there's like all these different layers to the planet or whatever that he's going down in.
Yeah, you've got Pauline's story of trying to get to the center so she can find her way home, and then you've got DK who's just like, ooh, banana.
Yeah, that's very DK. I think like I've almost wanted to make this my text tone if I didn't already have a Choco as my text tone, but getting the one from 64 was like, oh, banana. It's just such a classic tone. And it's just like pretty much Donkey Kong's personality. Donkey Kong doesn't have a lot of personality compared to like other characters in the Mario universe. He's got enough. He's a very defined character, but he's also kind of been a little bit all over the place because Rare had him for a while, and their version of Donkey Kong isn't one-to-one to like what Nintendo was doing before and on the side at the same time, because they were doing stuff with the Game Boy while Donkey Kong Country was running. And then everything after that has kind of been piecemeal of just people doing whatever they want with the character. So like, Oh Banana is probably the only truly consistent aspect of Donkey Kong's character.
I will say, though, this is the first Donkey Kong game where he is actually eating the bananas he collects.
Oh, instead of just hoarding them in a cave somewhere.
Yeah, instead of hoarding them, he does actively eat the banana when you collect it, which is, one, funny to watch. Two, is kind of questionable because they're also like bananas that are made of crystal.
Yeah, but I mean, I've looked at some of the stuff that all the characters in the Mario world have ingested. It does not surprise me at all that Donkey Kong's just eating crystal bananas.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be honest, it also does not surprise me that, because apparently, while the other monkeys who are helping him collect them, or who are also trying to collect them, apparently will also eat them.
Okay, yeah.
But apparently, it is also mentioned that some of the people underground also eat them every once in a while. So I guess it's just an edible crystal that people are just, hey, it tastes like banana. Why not?
Fizz asks, is Diddy not in the game? Actually, I'm pretty sure Diddy is in the game. He exists. He's just not playable.
Yeah, he's in the game. Dixie too. And Cranky.
No, I saw screenshots of Cranky. I think actually he was in one of the trailers before it came out, and I think somebody had spotted Diddy very early on too. I didn't see anything for Dixie, but thanks for the confirmation. I did assume she was in it.
Yeah. So far, the only Kongs that are present in this game are Diddy, Dixie, and Cranky.
Ah, those cowards. Of course they would steer clear of Candy Kong. Though, actually, not too cowardice. Doesn't she show up inside the DK house or whatever at the end? Like her image
in the... if you have the DLC that adds the Emerald Rush mode and the DK Isle map, if you go into DK's house, there is a picture that is like an updated render of Donkey Kong 64 Candy Kong.
I thought I saw somebody posting screenshots of that. Why would they be adverse to Candy Kong? Well, apparently they weren't, because they did add her to the DLC, but she's just too sexy. That's it. She's just too sexy.
Yeah, she, along with, like, Humba Wumba, were, like, the Nintendo Rare characters that are just, like, shapely women with breasts the size of their heads.
Well, Wumba, technically.
Which, considering the proportions of their heads on those models, that is something.
Yeah. No, Rare was all about that back in the day. Right, just going all the way back, SNES, but especially in the 64 era. They were just all about, like, those cartoony proportions for women. Right, even in Banjo-Kazooie, if you ended the game, right, you got your game over, there was, like, the sexy version of Grunty that you would see.
Yeah. And she had that exact same body type, because it was... Grunty in the first one. In the second one, you had Queen Honeybee, Humba Wumba. I swear there was one more, but I can't remember who they were.
Yeah, there was also everything in Conquer, just in general, right? Like the flowers, where you could literally platform off of them, off of their breasts to get up higher. That was just rare. Phasma says we should go back to that era. I agree. We should go back to that era. Games were better back then. Way better. But I would like to, because you know me, I'm not a big fan of Donkey Kong 64. I play it. I don't hate the game.
Yeah.
But I think all of my criticisms of Donkey Kong 64 are very valid. I've had some not so valid ones in the past, but I've chipped those away and only stuck to like the really valid ones. So to me, I think having not played it, but you have, I've known a lot of other people have, I've talked to other people. I think this is actually the first good 3D Donkey Kong game out of the 2 3D Donkey Kong games that we've received in his entire history. So it's cool that we actually have a good 3D Donkey Kong game. I would prefer to move back to the Donkey Kong Country era, and I don't even mean returns. I want to return back to the original Donkey Kong Country era, because I just like that world, you know, with like all the bears that were running everything, or, you know, you've got Funky doing his thing, getting you the vehicles to get to the next place or whatever. I liked that world. And I wish we were still kind of doing Donkey Kong things in that world. But this being very Odyssey-like, I saw some of the villains too. They were in the trailer. I've seen some of the other characters they interact with. It almost feels a little bit more like that old Donkey Kong Country world. How would you say about that?
For the most part, I'd agree. My only, like, complaint is that there are several areas where the characters you're interacting with are, like, different shaped versions of the, like, little crystalline people instead of the animals that they're representing with those shapes.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, there's an area where you have them shaped like giraffes, but it's like, this would have been more interesting if they were actually giraffes, or a different area where they're shaped like lions, which would have been more interesting if there were actually lions there.
Yeah, and I think like the big problem too is you look at the bears from Donkey Kong Country and they're all standing upright, and maybe people look at that like, oh well, you know, in Donkey Kong there's a bunch of like anthropomorphic animal people. It's like, no, that's not true. That's just what bears look like when they're standing up. Like actual bears look like that, sort of. They're caricatures, they're cartoons, but they kind of look like that when they're standing upright. Usually in that old verse, if something was an animal, it just looked like it did as an animal. It didn't look like an animal person or anything.
Yeah, for the most part, that is still like, I mean, with the obvious exception of Candy Kong, but
yeah.
But that still seems pretty true, because the other proportions for the different animals that are actually there, they do just look like that animal. Like even the zebras you meet, they look at first glance like they'd be anthropomorphic, but once you get a good look at them, it's literally just zebras walking on their back legs. They just got
like,
their front legs up for no reason.
What was his name? Like the one from Madagascar. The few times where he stands up on his back legs.
Yeah, like they're still shaped like zebras, and there's the ostriches. They are shaped exactly like espresso. In fact,
great.
Every single one of them is wearing tennis shoes.
That's good. Joshua Hughes says, putting words in my mouth, Donkey Kong was never good. No, I'm not going that far. I think, for the most part, most Donkey Kong games have been good. I just don't think we've had a good 3D Donkey Kong game before this. I think 64 is mid. Like, it's average at best, and it could have been way better with just some minor design changes, too. Like, there was just some major few decisions that hold that game back from being an actual good game. Because it's more like 5 smaller games that happen to overlap but don't properly interact with each other outside of, like, 2 boss fights in the entire game. It's weird. There's some really good criticisms for Donkey Kong 64. But I think, like, all 3 of the old Donkey Kong Country games, great, solid platformers. Kind of hard, but it was good to have an option of a harder platformer at a time where, like, Mario games are just easy, you know? Not in a bad way. The end levels of Mario games are harder than the beginning levels, but they're built in a way that you will just naturally build up the mechanical skill as you go through, in a way that you're probably not even paying attention, unless you were to try to jump all the way to the end at first. But Donkey Kong games will have sometimes even optional levels that will make you want to bash your brain in, especially Donkey Kong Country 2 with the B level, you know, the one where you have to, like, hang from what's the parakeet's name? I can't remember his name. Squawk or
Squawks, I think.
Yeah, Squawks or something.
Oh wait, Squawks shows up in the DLC.
Oh, nice! I love Squawks. So yeah, there's like a level where you have to hang from Squawks and try not to hit the bees with the buzzsaw butts while you're going down this hive. It's one of the hardest levels in the second Donkey Kong Country game, but it's really satisfying after you finally beat it and you're no longer bashing your head against the wall anymore. And it's not like you're getting lucky. It is just pure mechanical skill with those Donkey Kong Country games, which is why I think they're great games. And even the original Donkey Kong franchise, right? That evolved into what we call Mario versus Donkey Kong now. But that is the original Donkey Kong franchise that Mario comes from. Those are all solid games for their time, too. I think the first one, and Junior specifically, still hold up really well if you just want a good arcade run. But yeah, I would agree more. I would definitely agree more with the second one that Joshua is putting in my mouth. Donkey Kong had a rough transition to 3D. I think that is a very accurate statement to say. And it's not because he had to. The mechanics were overall fine. I think they were actually probably stronger than the other 3D Rare games that they made. It's just there was a lot of decisions that made that game worse than it needed to be. Stuff that I don't think applies to Bonanza.
Like how much backtracking and forward tracking was required because you have to go through each level as 5 different characters.
Yes! Oh my god! And again, in ways where what they're doing, outside of like maybe 1 or 2 things each level, aren't even directly interacting with the other characters, right? Like maybe you need to flip one switch as one guy to open up a place for everyone else.
Like, don't get me wrong, I love Chunky Kong, but one of the big things about Donkey Kong is that he's the biggest, strongest ape. So why do we have an entirely new character to be the strong guy?
Yeah, I know. Why? I mean, Chunky's cool. You know, I agree with you on that one, but it's like, it feels like he's taking Donkey's place. At least some of the other ones.
Chunky, I love you, but damn, why do you exist?
Yeah. And also, like, Tiny. Why does Tiny need to be there? We could have just put Dixie. I love Tiny, too. She's probably my favorite character in that game. We could have just put Dixie. Right? We could have just put Dixie in there and given her the same power. It would have made literally no difference at all. Other than, I guess, maybe the Twin Tails was easier to helicopter model in 3D than Dixie's ponytail. But I don't know if that's the case because Diddy also had a helicopter thing and he's only got a singular tail coming from his butt. So.
And Conker.
Yeah.
Literally could have just effectively just modeled the hair the same way they did Conker's tail.
Yeah. Linky, I think, is probably the only one who was like a good addition. Just because like he's so different from everybody else and from people they've had in previous games. But he also is the one that is the most different. Like, he doesn't feel like he belongs with the rest of the Kongs.
Especially since the last time we saw orangutans in Donkey Kong, they were villains.
Yeah. But at least it's like, okay, we want to do the handstand because we want to have, like, the walk-up hill mechanic that we're doing in Banjo-Kazooie. It's like, okay, I get that. I get that gives him a purpose. But, like, almost nobody else really needed to be made. We already had Dixie. Donkey should already be strong. Now, what I think would have fixed that game is I get loading reasons why you need to do the barrel. You actually have to go to spots to switch between people. What they should have done, they could keep that, that's fine, is they shouldn't have made color-coded stuff for people to get. Instead, they should have just left the whole world it is. Have obstacles that maybe only one person can get rid of. But instead of forcing you to pick up these color-coded stuff as different people, let anybody get anything, and you just have to solve the puzzle that is the world. Maybe going back and getting the proper person. But if you can figure out how to solve the puzzle with the wrong person, they should have let you. And that would have made it feel like a more cohesive game.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, because that was the big problem I had with it too. Is like I don't enjoy when I go through a level, there's like next to nothing to do as one of the characters, but I still have to switch to that character just to run around and grab all the bananas and coins and blueprints that are strictly for that one person.
Or even that, like, there's next to nothing to do because there won't be anything to do with that character until you've done the stuff with another one. So it's like you could see their bananas in the distance, but you can't even get them yet, right? You have to wait until Chunky moved a big boulder so that Tiny can then later shrink and go get her bananas. So you're kind of just doing everything in order regardless, right? Why even have you switch the characters when they could have just done missions? Like, you could have loaded up into that mission and then just used the environment, kind of like Mario 64 style, right? And then it would have just gave you the Kong you needed for that mission. That also would have done the same thing they practically did in that game. It's like, I have a lot of fond memories playing that as a kid. But, like, even going back as a teenager, like, not even putting that many years difference in it, I was already seeing all the problems with the game. The glaring obvious.
Yeah. But of course, thankfully, you've got, for Bonanza, you've just, Donkey Kong is the only playable character. You just have the different Bonanza abilities. You can activate them whenever, as long as you have energy.
Yeah.
So it's like, if it requires an ability, hey, as long as you've got the energy built up, which keeping energy is extremely easy in that game, you can just immediately turn to the right Bonanza. There you go. You're using the ability you need for that puzzle.
That's good. No Mario 64, I gotta go and find the right hat box issues there.
Yeah, we don't have to deal with that, and not even the issue with Odyssey trying to find the right animal or something to put a hat on. It's just flat out, let's see, click the direction pad a couple of times. Oh, there's the right one. Hit it.
How much, because I know there are things, especially with the second player, because I know somebody can, like, basically mash to use Pauline's voice or whatever. How much does Pauline actually come into the gameplay normally, like the single player experience?
Normally, the main things she does is that if you press and hold a button, she kind of hums.
Okay.
And it creates like a musical trail to guide you to the your current objective.
Oh, so she's journalist mode, but just natively in there if you want to use it whenever. She's like the elemental sense in Genshin.
Yeah, there's that, and then her music specifically is required to destroy certain materials. and to trigger the bonanzas.
Okay. So for the most
'Cause,
part, she's kind of just there for the ride.
yes, she is. She's just there for the ride and there to give DK a purpose for why he's doing what he's doing other than just searching for bananas. Because otherwise, technically, nothing would ever get done because DK is just looking for bananas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because this is like, in some ways, it's like a slightly aged up version of Yoshi's Island, except you don't have to worry about Pauline getting kidnapped or a baby crying all the time.
Nope. Oh, she's also there for for the villains to interact with, because DK could not give less of a shit other than, if you attack me, I am going to punch you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because if he was just looking for bananas, the villains would just start doing their thing, and he'd probably just like walk off, getting distracted by bananas. Like that would be the very DK thing to do.
But yeah, so it's like, bad guys had Pauline, Pauline got away from them, bad guys want Pauline, Pauline's teamed up with Donkey Kong, so now they try to go after Pauline, now they have to deal with Donkey Kong.
Okay, yeah. Sounds pretty good. What overall would you say the cons of the game are? Right. You brought up a couple things before, but just like, what would you say are just maybe the things you weren't personally as happy with? I would say keep in mind that the game is built for an audience that's way younger than us. But I think we all know that too. So you could even just talk about the things that as an older person you just weren't happy with.
Yeah, I mean, I understand why, but the game is, like, kind of hand-holdy at times. It's not as hand-holdy as a lot of other games nowadays, though, so
That's
it
already
didn't
a
bug me
plus.
as much. But it is a little bit, because, like, the first time something happens, or even, like, 2 or 3 times when something's supposed to happen, Pauline will mention it vocally. To kind of like, if you take too long to do it, she mentions it vocally in case the reason you're not doing it is if you're a young kid who forgot.
Yeah. And that should be something that they should just put a toggle in, right? Like almost in the back options, because a lot of kids weren't like me growing up and don't dig through all the options. So it's something that only an adult would see. Like, oh, turn reminders off? Yes, please.
Yeah, it's a minor nitpick, but to make when Donkey Kong has full energy and can use a bonanza more obvious, he has a glow to his fur.
Okay.
So he'll just suddenly go from his normal brown color to like this orange color.
Okay.
And this like glow mechanic works for every fur color you can use in the game, and as a result some of them look really bad in the bright color but would look really good in the normal color.
Oh, that's right, because you can get different outfits and fur types and stuff. I forgot about that.
Yeah. That's another one that kind of bugs me a little because, you know, in direct comparison to Mario Odyssey, Pauline's outfits kind of fit that kind of vibe. She gets like themed outfits based on where you are and a bunch of different looks. DK not so much. He just has a bunch of different ties and different colored pants and just fur colors.
You know, for the most part though, that's all I want him to have. Like maybe it'd be cool if he got like a hat or something here and there, right? But I don't think I'd want him wearing like a jacket or something. Like if I wanted a Frank Sinatra DK, for example, I think I would just want him wearing a tie, pants, and then maybe like a trilly or something like that, right? I wouldn't want him wearing like the coat or anything. Maybe suspenders.
The main thing is that I was kind of hoping that, like what they did with Odyssey, that maybe he'd have a couple things that alludes to the characters that aren't here.
Yeah, okay, I can see that.
Instead of his tie, he has a pair of sunglasses hanging around his neck. But while there are a couple like kind of interesting looking tie options, most of it is just recolors of what he normally has, so it looks kind of off and doesn't kind of allude to the whole like same level of things as it was for Odyssey.
He really should just have like a bandana sunglasses alt for his head, just so he can look like Funky. Like that should just be a thing in the game.
Like, I would have been fine if it was just like he's got sunglasses on a chain hanging there instead of his tie, and then his pants are replaced with like Funky shorts.
Yeah.
Because that would have been funny.
Or give him like a gold chain that just says Funky on it. Because depending on the game, that's also something that Funky would do. He was a very flexible character. They made him a military guy at one point, right? Like in 64. It's like, that doesn't seem like Funky, but I guess it is now.
Yeah, in 64, he was a military guy because he sold the weapons.
Yeah, he owned like a military
Funky was
surplus
canonically
depot.
an arms dealer.
Right. It's like, yeah, he was the tech dude. If anybody could make high-powered weapons for him, it would be him. But the dude was a grease monkey, right? He was a wrench. That's what he did. He made vehicles.
Grease monkey, surfer dude, pilot.
Yeah.
I still can't get a major kick out of how the weapons he sold everybody else were just using fruits, and then he had an actual fucking RPG that he used himself.
Oh, that was the best ending of 64. Was like the one where Candy comes in to distract K. Rool, and then Funky's just behind setting up like his rocket launcher. I forget what like percentage that was. I think it was probably the highest one, but that was the best ending anyway. Yeah.
I kind of wish that the older like characters had a bigger role in it. Like Cranky, you just find him in every level, and he just annoys you about about how he's angry that he's digging and chasing after someone who stole the bananas from their island because you weren't there. So he's kind of like, I'm too old to be doing your job, you big galoot, kind of thing.
With that kind of like, back in my day, I would have never let this happen, but it's your job and you did.
He genuinely has a line where he complains that if he was still in his prime, he'd take out all of these enemies with one barrel toss.
It's very Cranky.
Diddy and Dixie, they show up again in the DLC, but they only show up in one level.
Oh, just like a little cameo appearance type thing.
Yeah. I just wish they had like a bigger role, like you ran into them more often, or that Cranky was more than just yelling at you every level.
But whatever happened to Donkey Kong Jr.? I say that jokingly because Nintendo can't decide whether they want Cranky to be the original Donkey Kong or not, or if they want both of them to have existed at the same time.
Well, they apparently changed their mind on that because both the American and Japanese for this game makes it very clear that Cranky was the original DK.
Yeah, I'm just not holding him to it, right? Like, that is true in this game. That may not be true in the very next game they make, so it's like... That's why I joke, like, whatever happened to Donkey Kong Jr.?
And there's also this like one side crystal character who does quizzes at every couple levels. I kind of wish that they just, for no reason, just brought back Swanky Kong to do that.
Oh, yeah. No, that would be a pretty good character to use.
Because that would have been an interesting thing there instead of just a little rock guy with a top hat.
Swanky Save Cave. Yeah, and given the fact that like nothing matters in that world, it wouldn't even matter that like she was a ghost in 64 because like nobody cares. You just be back like a normal person. Again, you know? Be perfectly fine.
And yeah, and it's just feels like there's not enough usage of older stuff. I feel like they could have done more with the new stuff too than what they did.
Yeah.
And
You know what's funny is the Donkey Kong games
will
did have continuity, but they were always wrestling with each other because Donkey Kong had two different continuity, right? There was the pre-country Nintendo continuity that became the Mario versus Donkey Kong franchise. That was still going on at the same time as country, but then there was actually a continuity going on with Rare during the Donkey Kong Country days that you could follow pretty regularly through 1, 2, 3, and then kind of it was like a weird soft reset with 64 that was kind of pulling from them but doing its own thing, and then they got rid of that. They kind of actually almost got rid of both of them after Donkey Kong 64 and went back to kind of piecemealing things again, just however they felt like it at the time.
Yeah. Dixie does confirm, though, that this happens after Donkey Kong Country 2. And that 2 did happen.
Okay.
Because they do have a line where they talk about how they teamed up with Diddy to save DK once.
Mm-hmm. So they're referencing directly, what was it called? Diddy Kong's Double Trouble, I think was the subtitle to the game.
I think so.
That was the one I played the most of. That and 3, because I don't think we owned the first one. I played it at my cousin's house, but we only owned 2 or 3, so I played a lot of that one. Or no, it was I think it was Diddy Kong's Quest. It was Dixie's Double Trouble was the third one because she had to take care of the Baby Kong, I think was his name. Ooh, Joshua's a good question.
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't remember what his name was.
Kitty Kong. Kitty Kong was his name. I just remembered it. But Joshua has a good question. It was, how do you feel about the boss fights?
Speaking as an older, more experienced gamer, they felt too easy, but considering the core audience for this game, pretty much, that's kind of to be expected.
How would you compare
they do
them
actually
to
require thinking, though.
Odyssey's fights? High or low?
Difficulty-wise, even lower than
Okay.
Odyssey's because, you know, Odyssey was still a Mario game. Mario has less to work with than DK does. Donkey Kong, between the stuff he can normally do and the bonanzas, he can tear through most of the bosses easily because he is built to be like a combat monster.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, though, As is typical of these kind of games nowadays, a lot of the fights are reused later. But I do find a lot more enjoyment out of them because of the nature of them. Because it's not just the exact same gimmick every single time. It is a different kind of boss, different member of the three who's setting it up
So
than
creativity-wise,
the
it
three
feels
themselves.
higher.
Yeah, creativity-wise, it feels higher because otherwise it was just a lot of Odyssey was just the same boss like 2 or 3 times because it was a different brutal. The brutal still mostly acted almost exactly the same.
Yeah.
It was always just, well, knock out their hat and then hit them with yours.
Mm-hmm. Maybe some type of platforming would be involved, but that's it.
Yeah, so it's bosses for this one felt more creative than Odyssey, but they're a lot easier because DK has a lot more options. And honestly, a lot of people who liked Donkey Kong Returns would probably flay me for saying this, but these are the first enemy types since the Kremlings that I actually like.
Oh, dude, I would agree with you because we played some of one of them. What was the one that had the funky mode? It was definitely it was a redo, but
It was
was it
Tropical Freeze.
Yeah. So we played the port of Tropical Freeze, Donkey Kong Country's Returns, with the funky mode together, and like it just the platforming was all right. I wouldn't say it was Donkey Kong Country levels of platforming, but it was still more intense than say a Mario game would have been if I was comparing it to like New Super Mario Brothers. But the boss fights were lame. The combatants were lame. The enemy designs just weren't that good. And it's because like they just don't get to work with the Kremlings. They just don't.
Yeah, like one of the bosses is literally just a seal with a helmet that's just sliding on a turnpike.
Yeah.
And then this one, you've got like the different things they set up, and you've got the 3 villains for this new one, which is just a giant ape with a pickaxe who builds things, a like gibbon woman who's fast, agile, and uses perfume, and then you've got the annoying little boss guy who's just funny.
Yeah. Which obviously with the Gibbon woman, I'm like, yeah, there's already Rule 34 of her 5 minutes after that trailer dropped.
Like, in all honesty, it kind of gives me like a slight Team Rocket vibe, except if somehow Meowth was the one in charge.
I could see that, yeah. And they were just slightly more competent. Only slightly.
And like there's a bit that really got me jazzed, but I can't talk about that without spoilers.
Okay. Well, now I have to ask you, David-wise, how was the game? Which is a joke, because he wasn't involved, but that was the old composer for the Donkey Kong Country games. How was the music?
I actually like the music, not as much as before, but the normal music does put you in the right like mindset for the level you're in. The Bonanza musics are just big time bombastic, the same way like freaking Jump Up Superstar and Rosalina's Odyssey songs were.
Okay.
And then it's like, congrats, you just took one of the things that like people kept talking about how big you did it twice in Odyssey, and now you've got freaking 5 that you can do on command.
Yeah. Because my favorite part or song in Odyssey was the what was it? Break Free, Lead the Way, which is the one that plays same singer who did Jump Up Superstar, But when you have Bowser control and you're trying to get out of the moon while the like core is collapsing.
Yeah. Yeah, that is my favorite too. I mean, a little bit of bias because I really enjoy that section for obvious reasons. Just like actually go into a Mario game, but then instead you're just Bowser wrecking shit for the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, yeah. But it also uses like leitmotifs from previous stuff in there. Like you can hear the Bowser Road medley as almost like the bridge before the song loops back around. It's a really good song. But we got good music like that in this. That's good to hear. Because music matters a lot to me when it comes to video games. I know it may not for a lot of people, but a video game is such a cohesive project that involves a lot of your senses that a good soundtrack can really make or break a game experience. Right? Where it could take something that should have been somewhere on the scale, but then drop it by 2 or 3 whole points just because the soundtrack wasn't elevating it to where it needed to be.
Yeah, because like the Bonanza songs, their lyrics are pretty much gibberish except for mentions of the animal that's in it, but at the same time, the music itself that goes along with it is just really gets you feeling like you're actually this powerful thing while you're doing it.
And you know, also, I don't think you can afford to not have a good soundtrack like that for Donkey Kong because of the history of the character, right? Like Donkey Kong, more than other Mario characters, is intrinsically tied to music, especially with the Donkey Kongo drums back in the day, right? Where we had Donkey Konga and Donkey Kong Jungle Beat. And so I feel like you kind of have to go a little harder with him than you do some of your other characters.
Oh yeah, because that's even a big point of the game, that the power of the music is how you're doing all this. It's like you've got her voice, Donkey Kong's body, but that also goes into Donkey Kong pounds his chest to give her a beat to start her up.
Yeah,
and that's actually how you activate the transformations. He pounds his chest to give her the beat, then she starts singing, and that's what kicks it in.
Oh, sounds like I'm going to have a really good time when I get to it. Should be coming sometime this week. I'm kind of excited. It's a good time right now for Nintendo games. So we also got Metroid Prime 4. I think it's already out. I saw some people playing it. I don't know. I think it was today on the 4th that it was supposed to come out. But we don't have access to that yet. Maybe next week or something. It's a good time to enjoy Nintendo games. I feel like we're going to have a kind of a gap for a bit after this, because I don't really know what's on the horizon for next year. We've got a couple things they were talking about, nothing big yet. All the big things have already come out, right? Like there's Mario Kart World, Kirby Air Riders has already come out, Prime just drops, Donkey Kong is already out. We know what franchises they can put things out, what they're probably planning to put things out. But the next few things coming out are more like filler, right? Like there's the upgrade to Animal Crossing that's coming out to fill in the time between more stuff.
God, that reminds me, I haven't actually played Animal Crossing since before the dive suit got added.
Oh man, don't even ask me the condition of my town. I didn't even log in to get my birthday stuff.
God, I log in, there's probably going to be weeds and roaches everywhere.
Oh, yeah. Well, luckily for your house, there's a maximum number of roaches there can be, so... And that's... I think, after 2 weeks gone, because they spawn one like every other day. After like 2 weeks gone, you can't get more roaches. So you're fine on that. The weeds, on the other hand, I can't tell you about what the condition of your town's going to be. This game is a lot more lenient, though. Right? Like, you remember all the stuff I used to complain about Wild World back in the day, where, like, if you dropped the game for a month, entire people may have, like, moved in and left before you checked again. This one, even if you're gone for a while, they still only count, like, a day or so as passed in some ways, to where it's, like, maybe one person can leave your town, but the other person who's going to take their spot hasn't moved in yet, and none of your other people have really left. They're very, very lenient. You probably don't have to worry about it that much. I think I'm over-worrying just because of the older experience of the other Animal Crossing games, that in some way I kind of prefer more because of that. I think because Wild World is still, I think, my favorite Animal Crossing game. And I think the original Animal Crossing is probably the best. Yep. Let's see. Did I want to touch any of these things? Or did I want to talk about Genshin? Let me see. No, none of this stuff. Like, I have 6 articles up. One of them I actually did talk about right before you got in, and a little bit when you got in here. But, like, most of it just wasn't good. You know, like, Final Fantasy 14. So, you know, they said they're going to make it up to people. They're going to try to go back to school, try to get back to the roots of things, because Dawn Trail had very mixed reception, as in bad reception. But I don't trust them. You know, I don't even know if it's worth talking about Final Fantasy 14 anymore. I've kind of just been burned by that game altogether. But I did really, really enjoy the most recent patch in Genshin. Which I know is a game you haven't touched in, I don't know what, 2-3 years? I can't remember when the last time I forced you to play that with me, when you started your new account. This is whenever I was streaming it. It has to be almost 3 years ago, if it isn't.
Yeah, it's been a while, and it's just, like, I got farther in the story than I bothered to do before. Yeah. But then it's just, like, I haven't gotten as far as, like, character levels and everything.
Dude, I told you would enjoy that game way more if you actually had your Risley built, and I was going to help you build it. You just never told me when you were on. Or when you were willing to be on.
Yeah, I just had stuff going, and then after a bit, it's like so much got added. I'm just like, do I really want to have to run around finding all these checkpoints again? Yeah,
that's the worst part. All right. How far were you the first time before you lost your account? I forget. Did you make it through Liyue, or were you still in it?
I hadn't even bothered to finish, like, the first chapter to the point of even, like, where Razor comes in as a character for the story.
You were still in Mondstadt the first time. Oh.
Yeah, I was still, like, story-wise, I was still in Mondstadt, but I was also just saying, fuck this noise, and sneaking around into Liyue and the other areas to collect checkpoints anyway.
Yeah. Well, because, like, the map is so big now, right? Like, it's almost...
Yeah,
warped.
It's like almost, like, what, 6 times the size it was when I stopped?
Maybe, let me think. Right, so there was the original place, Mondstadt.
And one of those is the fricking mountain.
Yeah, there's Dragonspine, which... on the stream account, I still haven't bothered to get any of the checkpoints. That's the one part of the map that's not lit up. We're not even far enough to justify the rest of the map being lit up. We're only in Inazuma, but that's like the one part of the map that's not lit up at all. It's like, I'm not doing Dragonspine until I have to do Dragonspine. That was the thing that got a lot of us to leave the first time. Was a lot of people just didn't want to deal with Dragonspine because of the sheer cold mechanic. Which, going back and play it, yeah, it's something I don't want to do until I have to on the stream account. I had literally no problem with it when I did it on my main account though. Like we were making such a big deal of Dragonspine. I'm like, dude, this is easy. I don't know why we're making a deal of this at all.
Probably because while it's easy, it's still like a requirement compared to everything else where you could just do whatever the fuck you want.
Except it's not really, right? Well, I mean, it's a requirement to do that mechanic to get through it, but Dragonspine's technically all optional content, right? So like you don't actually have to do it to progress the game. You should be like, whatever, I'll get to it when I feel like it. But at the time, if you were caught up with content, it was the only thing to do. So that's probably why we made such a deal out of it, right? It's like, what else did we have to do at the time? But, yeah, and then there was...
Yeah, nothing else to do, and it wasn't really that enjoyable.
Yeah. Then there was, after that, Inazuma was added, which you actually can't even get to unless you progress in the story quest. Like, there's an invisible wall that stops you. A lot of people have tried doing ice bridges, clipping through whatever. It's like, you can't. You literally just cannot get to those islands unless you progress the story. So, it's like, that's a cock block. But with taking that out of the picture, starting the game fresh now, getting to the point that the invisible wall around Mondstadt's gone, you can get into Sumeru. You can go all the way to the Sumeru Desert. You can go into Natland. You can get into Fontaine, which I said those in opposite order, but continuing westward, you would probably go to Natland first, and you'd have to turn up to go to Fontaine. And technically right now, you could just teleport straight to Nodcry. But Nodcry, I feel, if it wasn't the current thing, and you started the game afterwards, like whenever Shinezaya comes, that would be another one that would be hard to get to. Because it's a fucking island. That's like way far away. And unless you had somebody like Farina who could walk on water, or you have somebody who can just ice bridge over there, like Risley. You couldn't get there until you got there in the story. So that's another one that's just like blocking you. But that map, yeah, it's huge now. It takes a long time to run from one side of the map to the other. The content's great though. Listen, I might sucker you back into the game because there is a character coming up soon. We don't know when his banner is. I'll let you know ahead of time. But there's a character you're going to want. Like, absolutely, he is your type of character. And I think he might be enough to get you back into it. And it's the actual, not the acting, because you know Jean is the acting Grandmaster of the Knights of Favonius, right? The actual Grandmaster of the Knights of Favonius, Varka, who we've met in person in the stories recently, is going to be playable. And Varka is the big, kind of burly, just masculine knight guy. Almost, he's got like a roughneck attitude to him, though, right? He's not full plate armor or anything, though he has a little bit of armor on him. But he's kind of got like that that drunkard can-do type of spirit that would rile everybody together. Borderline Beowulf, but more happy-go-lucky. And he uses like the claymores, right? Like the Wolf's Greystone Buster Sword looking one is his weapon. In the lore, he's probably going to get a newer weapon though, because I couldn't imagine they would run a standard banner weapon as the character's weapon when his banner comes. That would be ridiculous. But just big, tall, blonde, kind of grizzly, drink all the time, happy-go-lucky knight.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'll let you know when that's coming up, like in advance, if you want to like hop in, start saving up for him by getting some like primos or whatever. Because you're talking about getting all those teleports. I can help with that too. You can't get the what are they called? The Statue of the Seven when somebody else is in your world. But you can get all the regular teleports, and I can just get you all the ones that are close enough that after I leave, you could just go to the Statues of the Seven or whatever. Or, even that I could just dip out of the world for a second and come back in. That's not even that hard. All the most annoying parts of Genshin are only annoying when you're playing them by yourself. That's something I've learned a long time ago. They're only annoying when you don't have somebody else in the game playing with you. But the recent quest was a fair. That was pretty fun. I think you'd probably like the area of Nodcry anyway. It's like an ambiguously European place. Just like very, very ambiguously. Like there's some like British Irish Isles to it. Even one of the people are practically like a Celtic, almost like native group of people that worship the moon. But then there's also like a little bit of like Icelandic to it, a little bit of like the Nordic areas, because it's supposed to be adjacent to Snezhnaya, which is going to be very Russian. So it's just like this ambiguously watery European area. That's just like an enclave of where everybody comes to meet because it's a private territory. It's a cool area. But there was like a moon festival that happened that was really fun in the story. And then the doctor showed back up again, Dottore, and I'm not going to spoil anything for in case somebody who hasn't played through it ends up watching it, but fuck Dottore. It's just how it is. Great villain. Horrible, horrible person that I want to kick in the nads hard enough that he exits orbit. But that's part of what makes him a good villain, right? You kind of want villains that you just want to kick so hard that they leave the gravitational pull of the planet. Yep. Oh, there was the other one too that I saw you haven't played in forever. It was Zenless. Kind of just gave up on that one.
Yeah,
What's the
I
specific
stopped
reason for that
checking
one?
in. That one, it was mostly just I stopped checking in because first was when I was working, so
No,
I
okay.
wasn't checking in as often. And then after that, dealing with Spaz towards the end of his time, and now Buddy.
Oh, Buddy.
Because Buddy is too excitable for me to have my computer out there with me while I'm watching him.
That makes sense. Okay. You have to, like, wait, like, a few years until he tempers down just a little bit.
Yeah, once he cools down enough that I know he's not going to just jump at me through the direction of the tray,
Yeah.
then I could take the computer back out there and just do my stuff from where I am. Or if he's more behaved and gets free reign of the house like Harley does, he's probably just going to run upstairs and bother everyone else.
Okay, yeah. It was like, because there is a banner coming up on that one that you would like. Like, literally the next banner is the guy I was telling you about, Banyue. The robot dude.
The lion martial artist dude.
Mm-hmm. He just punches and kicks.
I will say though, it is a bit weird to me that both of the big time fighters introduced are fire.
Oh yeah, the two that I showed you recently, the Monato as well as a fire guy.
Yeah, Monato, the lion dude, and frickin' Lighter.
Oh yeah, Lighter. And two of those are basically based off of fighting game characters, right? Like Lighter is more or less just Terry Beauregard from Fatal Fury, the way his moves work. And they weren't even shying from that, because that was when they introduced the side-scroller beat-em-up event with him, that they've used several other characters now. And Minato is basically just Soul Bad Guy from Guilty Gear, is how his moveset works. So that's kind of funny that they're all just fire characters. But I guess it's because like the characters that influence them also used fire in their main games, right? So they kind of want to reference that back.
Yeah, that makes sense.
No.
It just was like...
Yeah, it's a weird coincidence.
That struck me as odd.
Yeah, no, that is. I didn't think about that until you brought it up. Probably because I was just thinking about the things they were referencing, but that is a strange pattern that these like heavy bruiser fighter characters are all fire fighters. But also, that was enough conversation to get us to the end of the show. Thanks for coming on. Otherwise, I was just been up here flailing around by myself. Not that I couldn't do that. I'm pretty good at flailing around by myself. But it's nice to have a conversation, especially with somebody I haven't talked to voice to voice in a while. And thank you all for watching. If you enjoy the show, please grab that link, share it with somebody else. I don't care if you like them. I don't care if you hate them. I'll take whatever view we get. And if you really enjoyed it, you can always consider giving a donation to streamlabs.com/vomitoriumlive. Really helps us out. And I'll see you guys probably no later than Monday, hopefully. And we'll also see if my computer crashes again during the ending screen. But with that, see ya.